Justin, what an amazing day it is to be CEO, CTO of Helicone. You're launching a
Yes.
self-hosting solution. You already had one, but it got an upgrade. What motivated the change?
When we owned initially 2 years ago, we always had self-hosting, but the biggest change now is went from 12 services down to 4 services. It's a lot easier to self-host Helicone. We only need to run one line, and everything's up and running.
How are you able to reduce so many containers from 12 to 4?
The biggest change was getting rid of Supabase for our self-hosting. When we first started Helicone, we used off-the-shelf tools. We wanted to get stuff out the door as fast as possible. So we picked tools that allowed us to move quickly. Supabase allowed us to get to 0 to 1 really quick. One of the problems with Supabase, though, is that you have a bunch of other services that are bundled with it. After a certain scale, getting rid of Supabase really helps.
How long did this project take?
It took about 1 month to rewrite everything to not use Supabase. It was a lot.
Wow. With this new architectural change, who would you say that self-hosting is best suited for?
It's for the enterprise folks and folks that are very privacy conscious, security conscious.
So if they're setting up this in their local infrastructure, what are some things they need to know before going this route?
There's a few ways to set up Helicone within like your local environment. The easiest way is to set up an EC2 container and just do Docker Compose up. So it's just one container. That obviously doesn't scale in certain ways. If you want like a full-fledged solution, we provide Helm charts, allow you to connect like an Aurora database or a
Mm.
different ClickHouse cluster, and those can scale really well depending on your request volume. You can get in touch with our support team, and we'll be tell you the right sizing for different instances and the correct architecture when going to self-deploy Helicone for your scale.
When it comes to the specific architecture and stack, you mentioned like an EC2 instance. Would that be the easiest way, setting it up in an AWS cluster? Is there any specific hardware cloud infrastructure we should be mindful of?
No, if you just set up like a T2, medium size, it'll probably scale for 90% of workloads.
Amazing.
You want to use Kubernetes and sort of have that like horizontal scaling. Once you get past the like million uh, logs per day ish, and at that point you're spending maybe like $100,000 a month on OpenAI or something like that.
Nice. That's a good problem to have then. What would be some solid advice you would give to engineering teams looking to launch their own self-hosting solution?
When building stuff, um, you're a startup and you just want to like move really quickly, always pick the 90/10 solution. Something that would have helped us a lot is if we wrapped a lot of our services within our own custom interfaces that we could re-implement later, as well as picking AWS or just using Aurora from the start would have saved us a lot of headache. And it really isn't that much more of a lift compared to going to Supabase.
For teams who decide to go this self-hosting route, how will these updates be rolled out? What can they expect from future updates and maintenance?
We roll out all of our Docker changes multiple times a week. If you look on Docker Hub, you can see all the Helicon containers up and running. If you follow the instructions within our docs, we tell you to pull down Helicon and then just run like the Docker build command. So you just do a git pull and then you get all the new changes. But if you wanted to use like our Helm chart, for example, we post all the new containers up to Docker Hub every week, like multiple times a week.
That's huge. What are some of those use cases that you're seeing teams make with Helicone? What are some product decisions that they're able to see thanks to this tool?
There are 4 pieces of Helicone that they get used a lot. One I would say is like observability as a bucket. That includes like looking at your metrics, looking at your costs over time, looking at an agentic session, look at every single step in the flow. The second piece of Helicone is this router layer where we have the main integration, and we were like, hey, we're in the middle of the path. We could also add like caching, we could add rate limiting, a bunch of other features. So we have all those types of governance controls. And the third bucket is like once you have the data, like making it actionable. Let's say your 4.0 models, you can like see all of your request responses in from your production data. You can take those request responses and you can throw them into like a playground. You can edit those. You can say, hey, what would it look like if Claude responded? You can take real production data and just like test it immediately. So that's like playground experimentation. The last bucket, which is really not like a product feature, but more something that's inherent within the platform, is we're really fast. So we spent a lot of time working on performance and making sure that when you load up Helicone, it's instant. Like if you have like millions or billions of logs, which some of our customers do, all of those metrics and all those filters get aggregated instantaneously, materialized really quickly.
Love. Justin, you've been telling us all this goodness. Let's see it. Could you run some self-hosting demo for us?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.